Hey everybody, it's Tyler Esselman.
And it's Michael Osinski.
And you are listening to This One Goes to 11.
This One Goes to 11, the podcast where we invite someone to share an album with us that they believe is perfect.
So perfect, in fact, that 10 out of 10 just isn't good enough.
It's not, and it's certainly still not good for our season finale.
Season finale, baby. 6th season. Okay, so a question for you. I mentioned how in my Back to One episode, I mentioned how I am the more golden retriever-esque of us two, which I'm sure you have no argument against. Speak now if you do.
No notes.
Okay,
that's right. Yep.
I'm the dog. You're the cat of the situation, right? Like this is the dynamic we have going on. Okay, so I'm going to name a few previous guests on this podcast. Just right off the top of your head, I just want you to tell me what animal you feel they most are. Okay.
Okay.
We don't use the term spirit animal anymore, but I'm saying more like what animal they are. You know what I mean?
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Ready?
Okay.
Damon Kylie.
Giraffe.
Okay. Ashlyn Lozano.
I mean, I maybe just because she has so many cats, I feel like I'm leaning towards cat with Ashlyn.
She's a type of cat now.
But like a very specific type of cat. I can't quite define it, but okay, yeah, probably a cat. Yeah.
Okay. My dad, Paul Esselman.
It's a dog, but
it's a kind of dog, right?
I'm figuring out what breed.
Well, they have two big golden retrievers, so he might just be the elder golden retriever of us too.
I don't think he's a golden retriever though. I think is he a little? No, he's not a boxer. He's like, is he a lab? Maybe he's a lab.
Yeah, he's like a chocolate lab. That's what he is.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, real sporty, like real outdoorsy, but like good natured as hell, right?
Yeah. Could be a lab. That works.
Okay, yeah, it's always a little thought experiment, just to sort of what are we? what are we if not animals?
It's true. We are animals.
Yeah. Season 6 finale. You mentioned it. Super excited to be talking about this album to close us out. Michael, who are we talking to today?
We are talking to Dominic Chacon. Dominic Chacon, or Dom, as we will refer to him throughout the episode, is the worst at writing bios. He's a Philadelphia-based lighting designer and educator who has not had a non-theater related job since 2002. He's actively involved in his neighborhood association and zoning. He volunteers for 3 nonprofits. He tends to date and befriend audiophiles, currently one with a massive record collection. And ultimately, he prefers vinyl, but, Spotify's always ready. And I know him because he worked with the theater company that I co-founded with a bunch of people in Philly, Flashpoint Theater Company. We do mention that towards the end of the episode, if it makes the edit. I'm just realizing now it might not make the edit, but
It might not, but it's much storied. And if it doesn't make the edit, there is a reunion, a mooted reunion. It's not like the wheels aren't in motion, but man, would I be into that. That would be cool.
Yeah, that's I got nothing but time. I'll piece that together. Why not?
Michael is being sarcastic because we got big irons in the fire for you all as we move beyond season 6, and we're super excited to keep rocking with this thing. We don't know what the hell we're doing, but we're figuring it out.
I will say we will never do a 19 episode season again. I think that's that's where I draw the line now. But
yeah,
it's been fun. It's been a lot, y'all. Hope you enjoyed it.
You live and you learn. But I say it at the end. But we're really grateful for you all listening, and we hope that you'll share us with your friends and share us with people who you think might appreciate the conversations we have, and let us know if you have any friends who you think might be prime guests, because we're open to suggestion, aren't we, Michael?
We sure are. Yeah.
But before that,
like and subscribe,
and enjoy our season 6 finale.
I just want to also point out I am not drinking alcohol. I have to check this every time I open one of these up. It's actually just fresh apple cider.
Oh, great.
I'm gonna plug them. Yeah, that's really good. But it looks like it's a seltzer can.
You're allowed to drink.
Yeah, we had someone do an edible before they recorded with us, so
yeah, go back and try to figure out which one that was. It's not immediately evident, but it kicks in. It kicks in about like 30 minutes in, and you're like, oh, what just happened?
All right, well then, without further ado, Dominic Chacon, Dominic Chacon, welcome to This One Goes to 11. How are you doing this fine evening?
I am terrific. How are you both doing?
Well, you know, end of a semester, so like I'm I mean, I got some grading to do, but you know,
I'm living that 8 to 5 life right now. So it's sort of like go from one job, go to my part-time job is kind of how it feels right now. But I'm obviously very excited to come to my part-time job and talk about music with fun and interesting people that we care about. So, you know, there's a lot of joy in that commuting from this side of my desk to the other side of my desk.
I mean, it's a long commute. I'm sure some days you just want to pull your hair out.
Oh God, yeah. Boy, believe me.
Yeah, well, don't worry. He lives in LA, so he has a car. It's fine. Yeah.
Oh, okay, great.
Yeah.
Those legendary LA commutes.
Well, Dom, you should, for our listeners who do not read and did not look at this episode title before they pressed play, could you please tell our listeners what album hath thou brought before the tribunal this evening?
I have brought the Miseducation of Lauryn Hill.
Ooh, we've been looking forward to this one.
By Ms. Lauryn Hill. I see that Spotify has updated her moniker there.
It gives her an air of distinguishment. I like it, you know. And anytime I refer to her, I do most often refer to her as Ms. Lauryn Hill. So it's kind of one of those, like, it's a name you have to say the whole thing.
Yeah, and she's never been married.
Not officially, or well, there's some question about that, but it sounds like she's never been married.
Right. I mean, I wasn't invited if she was, so.
Yeah. God, that'd be a fun wedding, wouldn't it?
Got lost in the mail. Yeah.
It must have. You know, I did move, so maybe she, you know.
The U.S.
That's true.
Damn that U.S. Postal Service.
Yeah, you should text her. You should text her and see what happened there.
Okay, well, before you launch into your case and make your case for why this is a perfect album, we have a little segment where you get to evaluate our case, or in this case, it is Tyler's case, because Tyler will be heading up a segment that we like to call...
We like to call it The Beginner's Guide to the Miseducation of Lauryn Hill by Lauryn Hill in 60 seconds.
And so you can evaluate how well Tyler does in his 60-second intro using whatever scale you choose. You are an educator, so you're familiar with rubrics, I assume?
Quite, yes.
Yeah. I'll go ahead and preface this by saying, like, I found this to be one of the most challenging that we've done. And I put it right up there with, you know, trying to condense Prince down into 60 seconds. You know, like we're talking that tier of artist and that tier of impact. So
yeah.
There's only so many times you can say considered the greatest, best selling, and on this level, this many times platinum, to the point where it's like I just stopped. But anyway, you'll find out. You're going to hear it in a second, and you can give me your very honest opinion about how I did. Don't hold back, okay?
I will not. I will be as cruel as I am with my students.
Oh, I'm ready.
Just we like to hear. Yes. All right. Okay. 60 seconds on the clock, Tyler. You ready?
I'm ready.
3, 2, 1. Go.
Among the artists who simply demanded your undivided attention at the close of the 20th century, few occupied the rarefied air breathed by one Miss Lauryn Hill. A native of East Orange, New Jersey, Hill rose to prominence first as an actor and then as a member of Fugees alongside Wyclef Jean and Pras Michel. The group's innovative blend of reggae, R&B, funk, and hip-hop provided an opportune platform for Hill's expansive, expressive voice and razor-sharp rapping acumen. Following Fugees' success and her continually rising profile across the media landscape, Hill launched herself into the production of her only full solo album, The Miseducation of Lauryn Hill. Recorded in 1997 and 1998 in Kingston, Jamaica, Hill collaborated with a group of artists known as New Ark, Veda Nobles, Rasheem Pugh, Tejumold Newton, and Johari Newton. Not to mention appearances by such names like Santana, D'Angelo, and Legend. An immediate smash, the dynamic blending of hip-hop, R&B, doo-wop, and reggae became a defining entry in the genre of neo-soul. There's so much more to say, but put it this way. She's an artist in every sense of the word, never afraid to share her humanity, and they really broke the mold with Lauryn Hill.
Wow.
All right.
Wow. I mean, wow. That was impressive. And it's so funny because I mean, I feel like you could have talked for 5 more minutes.
I could have, yeah.
You know,
we're going to talk for another 90, probably.
Yeah. So if we're rating you out of 10, I'm going to say this is a solid 8.5. Only because, like, there is so much you can say that you had to edit it down. I think you did a good job of editing it down.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And really, like, it's an exercise in capturing the spirit of somebody, right? So I hope that I hope that at the end of the day, that's what I did.
Yeah, I think you did. I think you did a great job.
That's on the board. But now let's go to you, Dom. Let's talk a little bit about you. You know, you're a person we care about, a part of our community. And so as we let you build your case, we want to hear a little bit about what music means to you. How would you characterize your relationship with music, all caps, writ large?
I think about this question a lot in the last few days. It's so hard to explain. Being from the Midwest and being essentially first generation American and having to assimilate so quickly, because there were not a lot of other families that were like my family. So my parents did a lot to assimilate us into sort of like society of our small town. And a lot of that came through music. So listening to Top 40 was really big in our house. Casey Kasem was like a staple of our weekend. MTV, I mean, we got cable because of MTV. We were one of the only families, like, my parents splurged on this. Like, music was big. My mom couldn't tell you the difference between Madonna and Cyndi Lauper and Rosalia, but she loves music. And so she was always listening to music. And when you're from a small town in Illinois, country music also comes into play a lot. I mean, everyone has a soundtrack to their life, but like I remember more about when I heard a song than I know about what we did for my 4th birthday.
Sure.
You know? And so, and it's sort of like played up and through my entire life, like even into college. You know, I worked for a company. Well, there's a program in my school where we brought in concerts to the university. And so that was a part of that. I used to hang out with DJs and people who worked at record stores. When I was a bartender, like, you know, music was every day of my life. You know, your shift could be made or be broken by, you know, what is on the jukebox. And so having to deploy to be on the shift where the guy for the jukebox guy comes to help decide what CDs go in. And yes, I said CD. That's how, you know. Oh yeah, that was a big thing. You would plot that. Like, you decide on, you know, what day. I would trade shifts with people. Oh yeah. I would trade shifts.
What sort of influence would you have? Would you be able to like make requests?
Oh yeah. He would come up and he'd be like, "Oh wait, what do you want out of here? What's not playing well? What are you sick of?"
Wow.
Oh yeah. I got in so much trouble over J-Lo, but that's a whole other podcast.
Taking it out? You wanted to take J-Lo out?
I took J-Lo out.
Why?
Why? Because I wanted Radiohead.
Oh, because you
like, okay, we accept. That's
okay,
fine.
do you want 3 million points? I'll give you 3 million points right now.
Well,
all right, so you just got 3 million points for replacing J-Lo with Radiohead in the jukebox.
And so, you know, and even like the people like I tend to be in romantic relationships with tend to be sort of like audiophiles and people who bring something. Because a lot of how I expanded my music was through friends. You know, Top 40 and all that was in my family. And like my sister and my aunt, who were part of my life, like expanded that a little bit. But my brother was like, you know, a jock. So there's all that like sort of still Top 40, you know, rock era. And then like when I started doing professional theater, when I was, you know, my early teens, I was meeting all these people who, you know, expanded even further. And so I just, you know, I've been lucky. I sort of gravitate to people who can show me more. And ever since the pandemic, I've sort of shifted my lifestyle so that I can go see more live music, which has actually been amazing. So,
were you not much of a concert goer before that, and then this has kind of been a shift in more in that direction, or you're just coming back at it with vigor?
Coming back at it with vigor. I think when I moved out east, I concentrated so much on work and working on my career that I sort of like let concerts fall back. Teching on a weekend is sort of like commonplace. And yeah. And like nobody wants to do a 10 out of a 12 and then try and go to a concert.
No, not even me. Not even me.
Like there are days now that I don't want to do an 8-hour day and go to a concert, but you know, I've been really lucky.
As an actor, I always kind of loved a 10 out of 12, but man, I always knew the designers had to suck for you guys. You know, that was when the real works with the rubber hit the road for you guys.
Exactly. And like by the end of it, you're just fried and you're like, I don't even know my own name, let alone going to pay attention to a show.
Well, and especially for you as the lighting designer too, because, you know, essentially like you and sound are essentially doing not the most work, but all your work is compressed to that like small time period. So like you are the busiest person. Meanwhile, everyone's sitting around like crunching on like potato chips or something, and you're like, "Will you just let me do my work?"
Please don't lay down. Please don't lay down in front of me. Just stand up.
Please don't.
Stay there. Please stay there. We're holding. Stay there. Please don't move.
Yeah.
Don't move. We need you in that light.
I'm going to give you 500,000 points for fighting the good fight of a designer during tech.
Well, thank you very much. I will accept those.
So then how did you discover this particular album and this particular artist? And was it Sister Act 2?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so at first it was Sister Act 2. That is how I first, I think, was aware of Lauryn Hill. However, I was also apparently aware of her from All My Children.
Oh, you watched that?
Oh, okay.
I will say that I did not watch All My Children, and maybe I lived with some people who actively watched All My Children, and then I would, maybe just sit down with them while they watched All My Children.
Yeah.
It took me a while to place her, but apparently, that was around the time I was watching.
Because she really, look, I'm going to age myself a little bit, right? But like, she really just kind of like was everywhere. Like, kind of like it turned out that she was everywhere at that time in the 90s. Am I understanding that correctly? That she exploded, but also then you kind of look back and she had kind of been in movies and TV and stuff like that, and without really knowing it before she exploded.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's an interesting trajectory. I can't think of a similar trajectory for many other artists of her ilk, like where she sort of like laid the groundwork everywhere and then just bloomed,
Exactly. And in such a like weird trajectory too, like television acting versus, superstar rapper,
Right.
It's a very, you don't really see that. Usually it's the other way around. Right? It's usually like someone who's in the music industry and like then goes into doing film and television. Getting back to J-Lo.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
It all goes back to J-Lo.
It all goes back to J-Lo.
Were you a Fugees fan first?
I was actually. I did. The score.
Oh yeah.
No one. Yeah. I was a huge Fugees fan. That was something that was a staple in the jukebox where I worked. And then just sort of, in Midwestern college dorm rooms, that was a huge album. Hip hop is 50 this year. And so like talking about the Fugees and Lauryn Hill, it's sort of like hip hop's slightly older than I am. So we were coming of age around the same time of like, where I feel that hip hop was really getting into the more mainstream MTV youth Midwestern culture, and so the Fugees was huge. Right, like that album is pretty stellar.
Were you, Michael? Were you a Fugees guy back then?
I mean, everyone loved "Killing Me Softly." I mean, it was everywhere. I mean, I would say like anyone born in, I would say like the mid 70s to like the mid 80s or so can do the entire bridge of "Killing Me Softly," can do like Lauryn Hill's solo within that, like na, 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 like we all know we could maybe write it out on sheet music if you know music. Like it was just, that song was everywhere, and I think every track that came out after it, there might have only been one actually, did okay, but like that "Killing Me Softly" was everywhere for a good portion of time.
Yeah, I mean, well, that and I think "Ready or Not."
Oh yeah, that was. I mean, was there another single besides those two?
Okay, so there was "Ready or Not," "No Woman, No Cry," which again we're gonna get into that whole sort of Bob Marley influence later, I guess, and "Killing Me Softly." There's one other one.
Yeah, but I mean, it was big. I don't think I bought the album, and that might have been because that was that weird period of time where I was still going to Catholic school. And I think there was a parental advisory label on it, so
the first single was "Fuji La."
Oh
yes,
Fuji La La La. Yeah, I know that one.
Right. Oh my god.
So let me ask both of you: Were you aware? Not having the context that I did, like, did it seem like Lauryn outgrew Fugees, or was it what kind of awareness did you have of like where you felt like she was headed when you were aware of her just as part of Fugees?
Then or now?
I guess then, and then now.
I think that I felt that was like, because Wyclef was doing his own stuff as well, but I just felt I guess I was hopeful that they were all doing their own stuff and would come back.
But now, like with knowledge we have now, I mean, I think it wasn't just that they like, oh, we're gonna go do our own things. Like I mean, the like all of Lost Ones is a diss track against Wyclef Jean. Like it's, I mean, I don't know if she's ever admitted that, but I listened to this other podcast at one point where like the host like broke down line for line how she's like eviscerating Wyclef Jean over the course of that entire track.
I would also maybe throw Superstar in there. It's like everything you write is lame.
It doesn't get much clearer than that.
I'm gonna draw a blank with the line is right now, but it's essentially like everything you put out there is a dud.
Well, it seems like he wasn't supportive of her carving out a solo space, right? And that's kind of the core of.
Well, and I think this is all from like
hearsay.
Well, I was gonna say from VH1 behind the music type gossip mill. Well, weren't Wyclef and Miss Lauryn Hill, weren't they somehow entangled with each other, and then Wyclef went and got married?
That sounds right. Based on the biographical information that I have out there. And it's funny. It's funny when you're like, you imagine the sexual tension of being, being involved with somebody in a group like that on that level, and then like your sort of romantic interests maybe running parallel or being intertwined with whatever your creative interests are with that person in particular. It seems way too stressful for me, and it's just a good thing that Michael and I are not romantically entangled is what it makes me think.
I mean, Stevie Nicks did it. Why can't you guys?
Well, we see how it worked out for them with Rumors, right? What a mess. But that's it. I mean, it's a good context, I think, for kind of what would be her. I know I'd love to talk about like what your take is on all the attribution stuff, all the attribution controversy with this album as well. But how she functioned in Fugees is a fascinating thing that I feel like I just scratched the surface of researching this album in particular.
It's even harder because if we think about the time, right, and her being a woman and a black woman in a field that is dominated by men, that I think that the information we probably have now is a little skewed because she hasn't spoken out really about it, and she may never.
The closest I feel like she came was when she did that like MTV Unplugged, which I remember everyone was so looking for, because let's be clear, dear listeners, if you don't realize this is the album we are talking about today is the only solo album that she has released. That MTV Unplugged, I think people thought it was going to be like, oh, she's going to play her hits or maybe some new stuff, and it was all new stuff, and she talked a lot. Like it was mostly like her sharing stories, and I think a lot of people were kind of like, what's this? But I mean, to this day, I think she's the last Black woman to win the Album of the Year Grammy. Like back in 1999, a Black woman has not won that category, that award, since she did.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I mean,
I think that's why Jay-Z. I think that's why Jay-Z said what he did at the Grammys. Yeah.
There've been nominees. Like I know that Janelle Monáe's been nominated twice. Who else? Let me see here. I mean, obviously Beyonce's been nominated 3 or 4 times. Her has been nominated for Album of the Year twice. Oh wow, she's been nominated twice too. Oh, Lizzo too. Okay, like at some point, look at the like Wikipedia entry for the nominees for Album of the Year Grammy. It is fascinating to see like some of the albums that didn't win because it's ridiculous. We feel a certain way about the Grammys here on this podcast.
Okay, but let's talk about what you love about this album. Like what is it about the Miseducation of Lauryn Hill? we can get into the identity stuff right now too, if you want to. I mean, like, shoot, like what is it? What makes this thing pop for you?
I mean, I guess there's so much, but the first thing that comes to my mind is her voice.
Yeah.
She has an amazing voice, an amazing range, and then she can rap. Like, she has the sharpest tongue. And it's just sort of seamless how she can go from one to another, and then the different styles of, like, hip hop, R&B, doo-wop, and it sort of like seamlessly flows through the album.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I love about this album, it's so bizarre but it's so great, is the little cutaways, the little the school children intro, and like
I love it.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things that's always sort of like, we don't hear that a lot now, especially because of the digital age. It just sort of doesn't work that way. But with CDs and vinyl and even tapes, like, it was a really great way of like transitioning from one theme to another.
There's a real warmth to the way she raps too. It's she has that sharp tongue, totally. And I think there's something about, and I don't say that about rappers very often, but I feel like she manages to create this kind of warmth through the asides and all the context she puts around it. That is very, it's unlike anything else that I've heard.
But even in like Superstar, like, it is a dig track, and like, but still it's a soft almost, and you can sing along to it, and then all of a sudden you realize, like, whoa, this is kind of brutal.
Totally.
You think, oh, I'm going to sing this to my boyfriend. You're like, oh wait, no, I'm not. Never mind.
Yeah, some songs are better for that one on this album. I want to put down 1,000,000 ass points for her voice, because I do think it's the core of the thing, isn't it?
I mean, we learned it on Sister Act 2. We appreciated it in the score, and then I think that this is the height of it. Like, well, I mean, it's all we have of it, but
it's true. It's the apotheosis.
Oh, good as the T word.
Yeah, we draw big words here. Yeah, it was unquestionably the best album of that year. I know. I'm showing my cards here a little bit, but like, it's just so many people owned this album too. It was, and it's, which I feel like is not always the case. I mean, like, we've talked a little bit about the absence of a monoculture now. Like, in the digital age, there's not one thing that everyone gets behind, but it just snuck in before we all started getting trapped on our phones, and so a lot of people enjoyed this album and owned it, and played it. I feel like it might have been a CD that I owned twice, because I scratched it up the first time, and so like I had to buy another one, because CDs got scratched.
Yeah, drop them in your car, drop them in the passenger seat, and digging around. Exactly. I have gifted this album more than any other album, I believe.
Really? Oh, I like that. I like that a lot. 4 million points. 4 million points for that.
So, in the tradition of like with family and music, I gave it to all of my nieces and nephews, and even to this day, like, I find students who I feel will appreciate it. I have a student right now a student worker. I have her name's Juna. If you listen to it, hey Juna. That I have like mentioned this album to her several times, and finally like played one of the songs for her recently, and I was like, see, this is amazing. She's really gotten into it, and yeah.
Oh, you're that teacher. I like that. That's great.
I also won't narc you out if I find you smoking behind the coral risers, but
I like that you're that teacher too.
Not that I ever did that, Mom.
You're the cool teacher, but you're not the cool teacher in quotes. Cool's not in quotes. You're just the cool teacher.
Exactly.
Okay, it's past time that we listened to a little bit of Ms. Lauryn Hill. Dom, tell us, what have you chosen as your standout track?
I chose Everything Is Everything.
Oh, I'm so glad you did. Okay, listeners, if you're listening on Spotify or YouTube, you're about to hear the whole thing. And if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, you're going to hear just a little clip. But either way, we'll see you on the other side.